Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn and this is part 2 of the Stamps of Life set of KCC 21 cards. In part 1, I showed you how I chose my pattern papers from the January card kit, and off camera, I already did the prep work to cut the additional mats and layers according to the 15 card sketches that are part of KCC 21. In this video, what I'll do is assemble the first 7 sketches, and I am going to try to stick as much as possible with the contents from the kit. You get so much to decorate with, including stickers, which I think is kind of fun, and a spool of ribbon. There are 2 die sets, and those are really going to be fun to craft with. And besides that, I am going to bring in white cardstock for my card bases, a nested circle and nested scallop circle die set, and also I'm going to use my ultimate sentiments because I just find that really convenient for just popping on a little sentiment onto these cards. So I have everything already cut more or less from sketch number 1. And I did tuck into that little sleeve where I've organized all of the pattern papers and some of the additional mats and layers. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the die cutting, because remember when I cut my initial 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper, I didn't actually cut the circles yet. So it's in this phase that I like to do my die cutting. When I'm just cutting using my paper trimmer, I kind of like to just stick to that one motion, that one tool, and get everything done that would require a paper trimmer. And especially since I know that I'm going to be doing additional die cutting, I'm leaving the die cutting to this point. And so what I've done is die cut out of some plain cardstock as well, using the same size, and I'll just match those 2 sizes up together. And anytime there are multiple pieces of pattern paper or cardstocks that need to essentially come together snugly, I like to just tape them on the back with either washi or just with a strip of double-sided adhesive, and then you have a little bit of adhesive to start with. And that way I can actually hold and position the piece as if it were one. So in this case, this circle is actually 3 pieces. It's a bit of, it's 2 half circles coming together and a small strip that does come from the cutting guide. So if you missed part 1 and you're not familiar with KCC, Kendra's Card Challenge, definitely go back and watch part 1, because I tell you all about the card sketch challenge, and more importantly, I show you how I cut all of these pieces. If you want to play along with Kendra's Card Challenge, it's free to play along with, and not only is it free, you could win some pretty fabulous prizes from companies who have been so generous with donating gift cards and prize packages. So really big thank you to all of our sponsors and our super sponsors like the Stamps of Life. They sent me this January card kit to craft with, and the card kit is really so perfect for card sketch challenges like KCC, because there's really pretty much everything that you need in this kit, including plenty of options for sentiments. I just want to kind of bring in some more options of my own, but you definitely have a lot to work with in this card kit. And that does include solid color cardstocks as well. So that's where I'm getting a lot of these papers that are a perfect match to the pattern papers. Now, if you want to play along, you can download the free PDF. There's going to be links to that in the description box below. And in that PDF, what you're going to find is the first few pages will show you a cutting guide for how to cut down your 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern papers. And the next few pages will show you 15 unique card sketches, and that's what you'll see on screen as I assemble my cards. And if you print this out in color like I have, then you can go by the color coding, which shows you which sheet of pattern paper each of those elements originated from. And where you see white, gray, or black, that's where you can add, whatever you would like, whether that's more pattern paper, which I've done in some cases, or solid color cardstock. You could even emboss a panel or use an inky panel, whatever you would like. So one of the things that I thought I would do with this set of cards is, if you saw part 1, you might have noticed that I actually trimmed down half an inch from my 6x6 pattern papers, because technically the pattern papers from the Stamps of Life, it's actually not 6x6, it's 6.5x6, which is really cool because you get that extra half inch, which sometimes makes a difference if you're die cutting. But in this case, because our cutting guide is specifically for 6x6, I did want to trim off that extra half inch to start, so that as I follow the rest of the cutting guide, it will line up perfectly. But that meant that I have a lot of 1/2 inch by 6 inch strips, which I'm going to use to decorate the inside of my cards, which I often neglect. So it'll be fun to finally make a set of cards where the inside gets a little bit of love as well. Now, with a sketch like sketch number 2 here, again, it does require some half circles. So I just like to cut the circle, die cut the circle, and then I line this up in my trimmer. And depending on whatever size, the sketch does recommend a specific size circle, diameter circle that you can use. But if you don't have that, just find something that's close. It's not the end of the world if you don't have the exact same size circle as what is suggested in the sketch. And so what I like to do is, especially since I want to use even more pattern paper on this sketch, it can be really hard to kind of see what's going on if you layer pattern paper directly one right on top of another without anything to give your eye like a break or a border, so that it can recognize where one pattern ends and another one begins. So what I've done is I've cut an extra couple of circles, and I'm actually going to add a little mat behind these half circles. Now that's not something that's shown in the sketch, so definitely feel free as you were playing along to adapt your card based off of the choices that you're making. So since I'm using, in that white space, I'm choosing to fill it with even more pattern paper. That's why I've decided to add a matte layer behind these half circles. And one of them's a full circle, but I'm going to cut it in half. So I just like to measure it and then line up one edge with the halfway point. And that gets you a close approximation to about half, but it really doesn't matter. I wouldn't stress too much about getting those circles exactly in half. It'll feel even more organic if it's not. So don't stress about it. Just estimate and it'll be just fine. One of the things that comes in the card kit are these sticker sentiments. I actually thought when I was doing the unboxing that these stickers were going to be pretty thin. They're actually not. Surprisingly, it's like a medium weight medium weight cardstock. So it's pretty nice. I like it. Definitely didn't feel like it was thick. I was fully anticipating needing to stick those stickers on top of, say, like a white cardstock to just like make it a little bit more sturdy and a little bit more substantial, but I totally did not need to do that. I just used it as is. And one of the things that I thought would be kind of fun is I did send these little penguins through my Scan and Cut, but there are a sheet of penguin stickers as well. They're just like a little bit smaller, but I think for the most part, they're all kind of the same as what you get printed in the paper pad. And so I just use some of the smaller ones on the smaller half circles. And then on the big half circle, I used one that's from the cut apart sheet in the paper pad. So I thought it would be kind of cute just to have these penguins kind of peeking out from here, there, everywhere. Just something a little bit fun and whimsical. And I will go back in the end and add a little something with my leftover pattern papers on the inside. And in fact, I'm going to share a short video where I just do a really quick flip through of all 15 cards and a little sneaky peek at the inside as well. Super easy. I didn't do anything super sophisticated on the inside. Now, with sketch number 3, what I like to do is you can, if you want to save cardstock, you can cut thinner strips and just butt them up against the 2 long edges of your pattern paper. But I had a piece of pattern paper that was large enough, so I just used, that whole strip. Even though a lot of it is getting covered by the lighter lavender, I don't really mind it. I feel like it's just easier to do it this way. And one of the things that you want to kind of keep in mind when you are assembling your cards is anytime there is something that hangs off the edge of a panel, you want to attach that to the panel first before you attach the panel to your card base. That way, anything that hangs off of the panel, you can just use the edges of that panel to get a nice, clean, straight cut. And it's a lot easier to do that, especially if you have maybe some weird angles. Like this strip here, I'm not really measuring where it goes or how closely it resembles the angle that is part of the sketch. Really what I want to do is choose my focal image, choose my sentiment, figure out where those will live on my card, and then kind of adjust this strip here so that it looks good. Now, I'm actually altering this sketch as well because if you look at it, there's actually a gray matte layer, and then there's another panel on top. Whereas what I've done is I've eliminated that gray matte and I adhered the strip down to my card base itself. So where in the previous sketch I added an extra matte layer, here I'm removing one. So you can, as I mentioned before, you're free to take some liberties with these sketches. The whole idea behind card sketch challenges in general is just to give you some fresh new ideas for card layouts. And for me, I find it a super valuable resource to have 15 unique card sketches all in one sketch challenge. And that way, if my creativity just isn't really flowing, I can pull out one of these sketches and at least get started there, which for me helps to jumpstart my creativity. And then at some point I'll probably take some liberties, make some decisions that then have me straying a little bit from the actual sketch. So if you're playing along, you should feel free to do the same. And especially once the challenge is over, definitely keep these printouts, and that way you can refer back to them whenever you're feeling like you need a little spark of creativity. So now we are on to sketch number 4, and this one is actually a collaboration with Call Me Crafty L, who puts together a monthly sketch resource called Sheetload of Cards. And I'm sure you've heard of it before, but if you haven't, then pop on over to Call Me Crafty L's YouTube channel. And on the first of the month, every single month, Alicia puts out a new sheet load of cards. Now, Alicia's sheet load of cards is a little bit, actually quite a bit different. So it was really lovely to see her and Kendra collaborate and sort of bring their two communities together in a sense. But sheet load of cards is really fabulous if you're making a lot of cards and you want to say create them as a set to give, or possibly create them so that you can actually sell them maybe at a craft fair. And so sketch number 4 of KCC 21 is actually a previous sheet load that was released August of 2025. And if you happen to love sheet load of cards, then you can always join Alicia's YouTube channel as a member, and then you'll get access to the back catalog or the archive of sheet loads. And Alicia's been doing this for years and years, so her archive goes back pretty far. And as a channel member, she also gives you bonus printables and SVG cut files to go along with her sheet load. So she's another person who's super creative and has a lot of freebies that you can get if you follow her channel. And of course, she's got a really awesome team of designers who are who share sheet load inspiration every single month. So hopefully you'll find lots of inspiration there. And with this sketch, what I like to do is for these various different rectangular pieces, I like to actually set the corner pieces first. It's kind of how I approach putting a puzzle together. I like to work at the corners and the edges and then work my way in. But more specifically, the reason why I do that with this sketch in particular is because once you have the 4 corners established, then the 4 pieces that fit in between them, whatever spacing you have, you can just make sure that it's centered within there. Whereas if you just went from left to right or right to left, top to bottom, bottom to top, however you want, by the time you get to the 3rd piece, you might not be able to make everything as equal as you would like. And so I always find in this way, whenever I have to put together pieces, I like to put, the 2 ends, glue those down first, and then whatever's in the middle, with whatever space I've left, I will just center the middle piece in between them. One of the things that I know Alicia does pretty often is she makes really good use of vellum. It's a great way to kind of set your focal image apart a little bit so that it can be seen a little bit better, but because it isn't completely opaque, it doesn't block what's behind it. And that actually helps for, especially if you're using like super gorgeous pattern papers, or in this case where I really feel like a lot of the beauty of this card is in that sort of pinwheel pattern that is created by the pattern paper and the layout. So I feel like I want to make sure that that pinwheel pattern is appreciated, but I want my penguin to still be nice and visible. And so vellum is a really good choice where you kind of want the best of both worlds. You want to pop your focal image up so that it is set apart from what's behind it, but you still want what's behind it to be appreciated. Now on to sketch number 5. This is another one that is really, really darling. And I've again chosen to use just a little bit more pattern paper as a layer to start my card off with. And I'm actually going to use solid color cardstock where you see those gray layers on the sketch. And because of the direction that my paper was when I cut this, I've decided to actually rotate this sketch. And instead of a portrait-oriented card, I am going to turn this into a landscape-oriented card. This is just one way where if you've chosen a pattern paper that is directional, and it happened to be that maybe that worked great for some sketches and some pieces, but for other pieces it's not quite, lining up the way that the card sketch is shown, like in this case, then feel free to just rotate the sketch. And if that doesn't work for you, then the other option is you can always just flip to the back of the pattern paper too. And hopefully, most of the time, if you're using a pattern paper, a lot of the times, whatever print is on the front, usually the back is a little bit more subtle and hopefully non-directional, so that you can always have that as an option. But in this case, I love this print. I kind of want to use it the way that it is, and I love the whole kind of triptych nature of the pattern too, because I'm gonna actually glue these down in the order that it was cut, because, and this isn't always the case, but with this particular one, these pieces were originally cut in this order, and so when you glue them back together, then it's the same order. So this would be a really good pattern if you had like a large scene or something, because you could actually appreciate the scene or the large print across the 3 panels of pattern paper. But and even though that's not the case with this one, I think you can still kind of appreciate the pattern. And I just want to add my focal image, but I want to kind of keep it off of the pattern, because I just feel like, again, so many times with these card layouts, I almost feel like the layout itself is part of the focal image. And so rather than cover it all up, I just want to maybe add a sentiment and a little character as something to just augment it a little bit. So that is sketch number 5. Moving on to sketch number 6. This is another one that does require circles. And so I cut, and this one, interestingly, the sketch does show a matte layer behind the circles. Part of the reason for that is because if you look at the sketch, it actually is 2 pattern papers. So it's got one of the pattern papers on the sketch is shown in blue, and then another pattern paper in the sketch layout is shown in orange. And of course, Kendra makes all of these sketches when she's designing them, so she knows that specifically if you are going to layer 2 pattern papers like this, it's nice to have a little bit of a matte layer or a border behind. And so this is a case where, like I said, if you have a separate panel like this, you want to glue your pieces that hang off the edge onto the panel first, and then trim the excess off like I'm doing now. If I had glued down that pattern paper layer rectangle first and then tried to, especially the larger circle that's in that lower right hand corner, trying to cut that to fit after that that pattern paper behind it has already been glued down, that would have been really hard to do. Not impossible, just harder. And so make your life easier, just kind of do things in maybe a little bit, for me, different order to how I would normally. And that's just going to overall make things a lot simpler in the end. And so I'm going to add part of the cut apart's really adorable because you have all of these fun penguin characters, but then you've also got little fish, little additional accessories, or things like the bucket of fish and the fish net. Really, really cute. And I've got a little bit of extra here that I want to put on the inside of my card. And I'm going to also add a little sentiment from my Ultimate Sentiments. If you're not familiar, Ultimate Sentiments are a printable that started actually as a stamp and die set exclusively sold at the Not Too Shabby shop. The stamp set was my happy birthday stamp set, but since the release of the stamp and the coordinating die, I've started to release printables that follow the same template so that you can use the coordinating die to cut out not just the sentiments, where you can print and die cut 10 at a time, but as well the die set also includes coordinating dies so that you have mats and layers that you can add behind those little sentiment banners. And these days I'm releasing Ultimate Sentiments as part of my easy card making kits, and some that are going to be standalone digitals. And as well, I have collaborated with Kendra, and she will sometimes be including them in her bonus printables also. So all in an effort to give you lots of sentiments to work with, and as well lots of reasons to kind of maximize the use of the Ultimate Sentiments Universal die if you did purchase it. If you haven't purchased it and it's still available at the Not Too Shabby shop, I would totally grab it, because these printables, especially for sentiments, I like to give it to you in white text on black like you saw, as well as the standard black text on white. And so you don't need a fancy color printer. As long as you have a printer or access to one, you can print that out. And if you're anything like me, stamping those reverse sentiments can be kind of tricky, but printing them is really easy, and you can always print out as many as you need. Now onto sketch number 7, which will be the last one in this video, and then I'll have a part 2 video where I complete the rest of the sketches from 8 to 15. But with sketch number 7, what I like to do is I like to actually stick all of these little half-inch pieces together initially, and I'm going to use one of these sentiment stickers as one of the... There's a little gap. My scoreboard right now is hiding the sketch, but there's a little bit of a gap in between where some of these strips are, and that's a perfect spot for a sentiment. Now, it just so happens though that particular gap isn't where I need this sentiment to be in terms of how wide this sentiment sticker is. So I'm actually adapting this sketch a little bit, and I'm literally kind of flipping it on its head. So instead of going from small to large in terms of the width of these strips, I'm doing the reverse. So it's going to be kind of upside down in a sense. And I'm also going to have to maybe trim a little bit off of some of these strips, because where I need, where I'm filling or choosing to put the gap, it's, I'm going to have to kind of adjust the other strips so that they work with what's left. And so this is another way where I had an idea and I wanted to, and that being to use the sticker, but the sticker is like a very specific size and width. And so you can always just adapt your sketch to work around the things that you're using in your in your stash. So if you look at the sketch later, it actually shows, I think the gap is maybe the third or fourth down from the top being the smaller segments. And my sentiment sticker is so wide, I kind of have to fit that in where I can. And it just so happened that where I have it shown here, that's the best spot for it. But that means I have to adjust everything else to fit. And it all worked. So I love how that turned out. And what I like to do is rather than trim those pieces, I like to just have another piece of cardstock that I will layer on top, and that will clean up kind of those stair step edges. So there's lots of different ways that you can approach assembling these sketches, and just do whatever you feel is easier for you. If it's easier for you to trim off those edges, or maybe you just like the look of that stair step, I kind of like having that clean diagonal edge, and so that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna add another little strip to the edge of that. From All of Us is a die set from the Stamps of Life January card kit, and that wraps up sketches 1 through 7. If you play along with Kendra's card challenge, here are some of the fabulous prize sponsors and super sponsors who have donated prizes that you can win. By playing along, you'll have to create a full set of 15 cards, but you can enter once per month. This is a quarterly card challenge, and so you have until the end of March to submit 1, 2, or 3 entries, and that way you can maximize your chances of winning prizes. Some of the prize sponsors have donated monthly prizes, and some sponsors have donated quarterly prizes, but Kendra picks prize winners every single month. So if you enter before the end of January, you'll find out if you're a winner by the beginning of February. Thanks so much for catching my video. I'll have a part 2 where I show you sketches 8 through 15. I hope you join me then. Thanks again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.